Hey, thanks for tuning into my podcast. This is Big Head on the Block, hosted by me, Tim Henderson, aka Big Head. Hey, welcome back to Big Head on the Block. Today I have retired homicide sergeant Willie Vick as my guest. Welcome, Willie.
Thank you.
Now, something I want people to understand about Willie is this. Willie was a veteran in the United States Army prior to becoming a police officer. So, Willie, we'll talk about the military stuff in a minute. Before we get into Willie's credentials, I want to kind of give everybody a visual of what Willie looks like, and that way you can have an image in your head because we don't have video to show you Willie. So Willie is built like a grizzly bear. He's big like Paul Bunyan. He has the strength of Popeye after he eats his spinach. When you see Willie walking towards you, he has a noticeable gait, a limp, if you will. Willie usually has a mouth full of red man chewing tobacco. He also has skull or some type of skull type product that he's dipping, and then he chews bubble gum at the same time. Now, all the while, he's able to talk, drink, and do all the other things. So I have no idea how he manages that. The thing about Willie's personality is this. If he tells you he's going to do it, he's going to do it, right? And people that know Willie and have worked around Willie understand. So if you were creating a fictional cartoon character for a comic strip, you could literally take this guy and draw him in a cartoon figure, and he would be the thing that, or he would be the personality that you would want to fight crime. So in my opinion and other people's opinion, this is Willie. So now we're going to get into Willie's background and experience. Tell me when you began your police career, where you were at, and some of the divisions you went into, and when you became a Baton Rouge City cop also.
Okay, well, initially I started off with EBRSO Sheriff's Office, and Brian Clemens hired me because of my service record. That was the only reason he hired me. He said he knew I would fight, so he hired me. Sent me to Paris prison, stayed there 8 years, was at Sheriff's Office, and then ended up in the tactical squad during the riots that happened in 72 and 76. Then I went to LSU after I quit the Sheriff's Department because there's too much politics. I ended up getting my criminal justice degree and working for the Baton Rouge General Hospital and Acadian IDA. After that, several friends of mine would come by and see me. As Baton Rouge General convinced me to go to the city police. 1980 and 81, I went to the city police, went through a training academy. Had to sign a damn waiver because I had a bad leg, had 28 operations on it. They made me say I wouldn't sue them for disability. So at 30-something years old, I went through a training academy. During my tenure in the Baton Rouge Police Department, I worked uniform patrol, motorcycle division, rescue division, 700 club, and also was a homicide detective.
Okay, out of all that experience, pick one thing that you think would have been your favorite assignment. Was it the fire rescue, homicide, or what?
Rescue would have been number one. And homicide would have been dead at each time because I like getting bad guys and I like dealing with saving somebody.
Good deal. Willie Vick, for all those who don't know, Willie Vick's been retired since 2004. I started in 1996. So our paths crossed. Willie really didn't know me. The older guys didn't necessarily know the young guys, but Willie made an impact on me the first time I met him, and that was before I was a cop. I had just got out of high school or was maybe a senior, and I met Willie, and he was in the health club, and he walked in and he had a shirt on that said, attack me, I need to practice. And he had a picture of what I thought was a pit bull, but what was it, Willie?
Bulldog.
It was a bulldog. And let me tell you, this guy looked like he really wanted somebody to attack him because he needed to practice. He was a pure man. So I didn't see Willie or hear of Willie again, for many years. And when I became an LSU police officer, I had occasion to run into Willie. There was a murder on LSU's campus at the old golf course on Nicholson Extension. And back then we didn't have the resources to work a homicide. So we called Baton Rouge City Homicide. And Willie Vick was one of the detectives that showed up. And as I was walking away from the scene, I think your exact words were, why the fuck are you on my crime scene? And as a young cop, I'm feeling froggy and everything. I'm trying to figure out why this guy is talking like this. But, when you come to know Willie's just very blunt, and Willie's a grown man. So do you remember that homicide, Willie?
I remember the homicide real well. I ended up going all over Texas and dealing with a Vietnamese pirate gang, several Vietnamese gangs in New Orleans. I literally ended up solving that case. LSU student was a valedictorian, very educated young man, and actually ended up getting in a trap, getting shot because one of his friends from New Orleans who was in the gang got in the boy's car, and they were riding down Nicholson. The bad guys were like 4 deep. We found shell casings all up and down Nicholson Highway and up by your golf course. And unfortunately for the young man, one bullet come through the side door of the car.
Yeah, and on the particular night that homicide occurred that Willie's giving you the story about, I actually was on patrol that night, and we were around the Bernie Moore Stadium in a parking lot, just kind of hanging out, killing time on shift. And we hear multiple gunshots, so it catches our attention. And we hear an exchange of gunfire, and there was literally, when we drove into the area, there were literally more than 100 shell casings, and we seen a car way off into the grass area. We responded there, and that's where we saw the deceased Vietnamese male. And from my understanding, it was gang related. I didn't follow the case because y'all handled it, but y'all did a really good job on that. This is what I want people to understand. I want to give you some context about Willie. Willie's grandparent, his parent, his grandfather, his father, and him were all in the military. So give me a quick overview of what your grandfather did, what your father did, what you did. But I want you to...
my uncle, my grandfather's brother, Uncle Seymour, was in the Spanish-American War. My grandfather helped during World War I. My father was on the destroyer, USS Yarnell. He received 5 battle stars, and I don't want to lie, I think he was a machine gunner on that destroyer. And one thing he told me was about the kamikaze pilot hitting the destroyer, and him at the he snuck in the Navy at 16, forged my grandfather's signature, and got brought before captain's mast, and my grandfather told the Navy they'd keep him. He could stay in because he was going to fight it. He was going to do it no matter what. The next thing we know, he stayed on that destroyer through 5 battle stars, whatever that means in the Navy. You'd have to speak to him. My Uncle Donald spent 30-plus years in Special Forces. I was at his house. He had snuck me on the base and literally got me to do static line jump out of the plane. I was a civilian dressed in Army fatigues because he wanted his nephews to see, we'll pay you to do this shit, boy, and convinced me to join the Army. And long short of it, that man, I'm at his house one night drinking beer and having a good time. Phone rang. They said, Sledgehammer. He walked to I remember like it was yesterday, walked to his closet, pulled out a double bag, and 9 months later came back with a finger missing. He was an honor guard at President Kennedy's funeral and received a Presidential Legion of Merit. And I'm proud of this because it's all documented. You go to the Kennedy Memorial. My Uncle Donald was very artistically inclined. He literally painted a bust of the Special Forces with all the fields they were active in, and it's in the Kennedy Memorial. So I'm very proud of that man. My Uncle Sonny was a Korean War veteran, and he told me some stories. A lot of vets don't talk to other vets with you. It's my understanding you were a vet too, Tim, is that correct?
Yep, Army.
Well, a lot of them don't talk about it. I got a nephew that was in Iraq. I got a daughter that was in the Army. I got a nephew in the Army. I got a grandson. It's an endless supply of people serving the country. I guess that's why you can say I'm one of them guys that I don't like to use vulgarity, believe that people who sit on their ass when they play the national anthem need to have foot put in it and kicked out of the stadium or off the football team not because they're playing the national anthem, because of the blood and the people I know that are walking around, including myself, with the scars on limbs and legs and arms and eyes missing, the sacrifice they make so these sorry bastards can sit at home and reap the fruits of freedom, you know?
Right.
That's the only reason we did it.
I want everybody to understand the gravity of what you did for your country before you became a cop. So let's take us to that mission that you and your squad were on and tell us what happened. Tell us how you survived and just tell us the outcome of the situation.
Well, I went on several operations, Junction City Phase 1, Phase 2, Operation LC Golden, and I was in a long-range reconnaissance unit. We'd go out at night. Primary purpose was to gather information about size, strength, coordinates, and location of the enemy, where they were building up, where their supply lines were, how they were coming in. Well, occasionally we would try to set up an ambush, you know, but our primary goal was not to contact them, but to locate them, watch them, and figure out what they're doing. Well, they tightened our asses up one time, and everybody in my squad got killed, and I got effed up many times, got hit several times. And by the time they contacted my family, I was in Tokyo, Japan. They thought I was dead and gone. It's funny to me, I'm kind of hardcore with the phone. They bought one of these little portable phones for bed in Tokyo, and it was my father. And I could tell he was, Billy, yeah. I said, man, God damn it, I'm good. Are you alive, boy? I said, well, I'm talking to you, old man. He said, well, look, your mama's wearing these prayer beads out. Will you please tell her? So she was Catholic, so I said, look, Mama, I'm fine. I think that's the only time in my life when they brought me back to state at Fort Polk after going to the military hospital. I actually saw a tear in my old man's eyes. He was so tough on me as a youngster. I always thought he hated my guts, but I found out, I think the old gold actually liked me a little bit. Well,
so when you got shot, you were still coherent. Did the enemy, all your brothers were killed? They
walked up and shot all of us. I don't know if it's because I was effed up so bad that they didn't shoot me again. Like I said, my foot was literally hanging over my left shoulder, and I had this gigantic hole in my leg. So I basically witnessed what was going on. I said, well, this is the end of this trip.
Yeah, I'm just guessing for sure, but if you're a tall guy, so if your leg was over there, they probably assumed you were already dead and just moved on. Thank God, God had another plan for you, man. And the one thing, as a young cop, there were a lot of y'all that were veterans, real tough guys, and that was an era or two before me, but I didn't get to work with y'all a lot, but I heard a lot of stories and I got to interact with y'all, a lot of real grown men.
Yeah, you covering the wide history of military when you deal with the old hands and the police department.
And that's what Baton Rouge City was comprised of a lot, especially the older guys when I got there were either war veterans or, people that came from a family military. And like I said, there were grown men working there when I got there. Now, we tried to carry on the tradition. A lot of us came from the military. We were athletes in high school and stuff. So, we was watching y'all, and we made sure that we kept up our end of the bargain because we didn't want to let the older guys down. Now, it was nothing we ever talked about. So let's go back to your police career. You were in homicide. Let's talk about homicide specifically because a lot of people like to hear stories about homicide. So let's talk about that. You came through your military career. You came through the parish prison. You took some menial jobs in between. Then you became a city cop. You progressed to sergeant. You were in the homicide division. Tell us what the impact is that the homicide division had on you as far as from a mental standpoint, because a lot of people don't understand the psychological impact.
The biggest thing about homicide to me, I've seen it on, TV tries to glorify a lot of stuff, but there's no glory in a lot of the stuff we have to witness. the hardest thing to me as a homicide detective was dealing with the loss of the murder, absolute abuse, and lack of respect for the human body of children. I mean, I've seen adults that were horribly abused, murdered, and all this, but when you're dealing with infants, I've had children burn up my house. I was a diver. I've had to go recover children that drowned. Anytime you have to pick up a child or deal with a child, well, I had a wife, 5 kids. I got to go home to my 3 daughters and them. People don't understand that. I think cops are all assholes and they don't have any feelings. They don't have a life and all that. I have a family. Now I have 9 grandchildren and 9 great-grandchildren. And I got a 6-year-old great-grandson that thinks I'm God's gift to humanity. He doesn't know that I was primarily an asshole, But according to him, I'm the man.
We all got grandkids, and they think that way about us because, we're the grandpa, the pappy, we're the pawpaw, whatever, and we get to have fun with the kids. So they can let, it's an image that we want, especially when we retire, get old, and get grandkids. We try to put the cop stuff behind us, but the traumatic psychological impact that a lot of these calls have on somebody. You told me a story, and if you would recount it after you retired, just to show people that this doesn't stop just because you stop being a cop.
Like I said, you stay active, you stay busy your entire career. I'm sitting in my living room, minding my own business, and just like out of a long, dark nightmare, I started reflecting back on some of those cases, and I literally teared up my living room. I couldn't believe it. I considered myself someone that kind of knew how to shut all that off, but man, it hit me like someone just kicked me in the chest or tried to cut my throat, man. I'm sitting up there boo-hooing, and I'm saying, what the hell? Because of my military service and all the crap that I've been involved in, they had me a psychiatrist, and I went to him and basically told him what happened to me, and they wanted to give me medicine. Man, I ain't taking no damn dope. I ain't taking this shit. So I don't take pain medicine. I don't believe that because I've known too many soldiers that got addicted and ended up destroying their family and life. So long and short of it, I ended up with groups of Vietnam vets and stuff and conversations and helped me out, helped me get through the dark times, helped me. And then them grandkids started rolling in, and like I said, God's got a strange sense of humor, man. I don't know why he would give me the blessings I have, but he has. He's blessed me over and over and over. All the men in my family, all of them died before 70. I'm 75 years old, still kicking, and my kid constantly dragging a great-grandkid over here, and I get pissed off because I like sitting here sometimes by myself, but really I need it. All policemen that ever involved in that need to keep their family close, need to stay active. My old friend Richard, Mike Shavers, who's now gone on to meet the Lord, I miss him dearly, died of cancer. People don't understand, like Warren Broussard, who was murdered on the job, was a medic in Vietnam, saved a lot of people's lives. I can go on and on about people. C.G. Johnson rode motorcycles with him. He was in the 101st Airborne, died from cancer. These are all police officers I work with that serve their country that are now gone.
Yeah, and that's whenever I became a police officer, y'all were on the tail end of y'all career. And like I said, we got to work around grown men, and it was really fascinating to hear y'all, hear the stories, hear the things that y'all did as police and in the military. And before we get off the topic, I want everybody to understand one thing about police work. And, I always try to tell people, try not to get emotionally attached to everything, because it'll really occupy a lot of your mind and time. But if you do, talk to your family, talk to your friends. there's always somebody to talk to. There's no need in all these tragic suicides in the military, police world and stuff. Open up. Willie's a tough guy. I'm a tough guy. And we both have had to talk to other people about things that we've experienced. There's no shame in it. If you never cry, then you're probably a sociopath, because guess what? Some of the stuff you deal with should either bring tears to your eyes, or at least you should be heartfelt, and there's no shame in talking to people. And I want whoever's listening, whether it be you that you're relaying this to somebody, or if it's a cop listening, there's always somebody you can talk to. If worst case scenario, if you don't have anybody or you think nobody else cares, call me, call Willie. You can find us on Facebook, okay? It's not that big a deal. We'll talk to you, man. We do not want to see lives end tragically. Now, Willie, before we go, I just want to tell you and people in your era, and we mentioned a lot of their names, that y'all were the true tough guys. Y'all kept crime at bay. Y'all showed us how to do it. But I want to turn this back to a funny moment before we leave. And you can verify this story, and you can mention the name if you want. I need you to tell me if this story is true, because I never asked you, because we didn't really hang around each other. There was a story about a supervisor who I really didn't care for, micromanager, and he kind of irritated me a lot. And I won't mention his name. You can if you want, but I don't care. Did you pick somebody up in the homicide division and put them in a garbage can?
Yeah, I did a couple guys. I won't mention the names either, but one of them was a Marine. Told him that I'll show him how a Marine flies, and set him in a garbage can out of the 1st District.
Yeah, I can only imagine how embarrassed that guy was whenever he was picked up over his head and put in a garbage can in front of everybody else. So the story is true.
Yeah, that was true. Yeah, I hadn't been known for letting people walk on me or say the wrong thing.
Willie, we're going to stop the podcast now, but listen, I really appreciate it. Now, you can anticipate once I get a different topic, I'm going to call you back. But I really appreciate you explaining your military, your police career, explaining the dynamics of the emotional stress and toll that it took on you. And Big Head on the Block, before there was Big Head, there was Willie Vick. Now, this is not a man that you would see and you would want to say hey to. You would walk the other way if you see this guy walking down the street, or if you've seen him at a restaurant. But this is a good guy, except for the day we played basketball in the gym. Willie's 20 years older than me. This is my first physical experience with Willie. I'm young, probably 26, 27. I see a clear path to the rim. I decided to go up for a shot, and him and all his older friends, that are the same age as him, they used to play basketball. Well, they let me play. And I thought I was a hot shot, but as soon as I got close to that rim, I wound up on the floor against the wall. And I soon realized that shooting 3-pointers was the only way I was going to survive this particular thing, because Willie would not let you come in that lane without putting, and I'm guessing you was probably, 250, 260 back then, Willie?
Oh, yeah. I had and Mike was a 3rd-degree black belt karate.
Yeah.
He liked to karate you, but too.
Yeah,
I wasn't fast, but I could close the lane down.
That's right. You closed it down good, and you taught me my lesson. And I said, I'm gonna have to think twice about going in this lane again, because Willie was the kind of guy, if you was trapped in a car and there was nobody else around, Willie got a good chance of lifting that car up or ripping that door off without any equipment. I said, this is a significant man for all those listening. Thank you for being on Big Head on the Block, Willie.
You're welcome. You have a blessed evening.
You too. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Big Head on the Block. I'm Tim Henderson, the host. I look forward to dropping another podcast soon. Please give us any comments, likes, dislikes, or any topics y'all would like to discuss. Thank you.